Good morning and good afternoon and good evening to everybody joining us today. And thank you very much for joining this session. And on behalf of the Secretariat, my name is Wadzi Mandiveni, and I'm the head of the Biosafety Unit. I'm joined by my colleagues from the unit, as well as our colleagues in admin. And we thank you very much for taking the time to participate in this very important webinar on the call for expression of interest to undertake a study on synthetic biology. Let me begin by thanking you for taking time to join us. This really, your presence represents the growing importance of this topic and the collective interest in contributing to the body of work under the convention. Particularly this program of work on synthetic biology. As you know, synthetic biology is a rapidly evolving field and sits at the intersection of a number of development challenges for many countries. At the same time, it raises important questions for the biodiversity and conservation agenda. In this context, the Conference of the Parties to the Convention have recognized the need for a robust science-based information support system to support further decision-making. Several decisions have been taken by the COP in this regard, and we are very happy that the last meeting in Cali, the COP recognized the importance of important science-based information. So we welcome and invite contributions from across regions and disciplines, and we count on your engagement to ensure that this study will reflect the diversity of perspectives and expertise needed to address this complex subject. For this webinar today, I'd just like to request that if you have any questions or comments, you kindly only use the chat function. We will be monitoring it so that we can have a discussion, and it is an informal briefing, so please feel free to interject and ask questions of clarity using the chat function. I will now hand over to my colleague, Mr. Austin McLaughlin, the Program Officer responsible for science and technology aspects in the Biosafety Unit. Austin plays a key role in supporting the work on biosafety and on synthetic biology. And those of you who were present in Cali will remember the hard work that Austin did behind the scenes to support this work. We also have my colleague Anastasia, who works on the Biosafety Clearinghouse, and she will be taking care of your comments in the chat and answering any technical questions you may have. And then finally, we are joined, and thank you very much to our colleague, Paolo Tagliari. And Paolo is with our finance and administration colleagues, and he will be able to respond to any of your administrative questions. We look forward to having this engagement with you. And as I said, it is informal, so please feel free to ask any questions as we go along. Over to you, Austin.
Thank you so much, Watsi, and thank you everyone for being here this morning and afternoon and evening, depending on your time zone. So I'll just briefly go over the terms of reference and the call for expression of interest. So just to remind everyone that all the particular details and the formal call for expression of interest is available through notification 2025-70, as well as the terms of reference available on the Secretariat webpage. So I'm just going to share my screen very quickly and put it into presentation mode. Okay. Hopefully you're able to see my screen. So I'll just again briefly go over the terms of reference and go over some of the details and the process for the expression of interest. So just as a background, in Decision 1621 on synthetic biology, in particular paragraph 9b, there was a request to the Executive Secretary to commission an independent scientific study. So this scientific study is to be a compilation and summary of current scientific studies, public research and development funding needs and priorities, and research roadmaps on synthetic biology. And there was an element of it being relevant to the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. And the idea is that this particular scientific study will then support the work of the ad hoc technical expert group. But just in terms of the relevance to the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, there were a few particular targets that were mentioned. So in particular, there was target 4 on halting extinction, protecting genetic diversity, and managing human-wildlife conflict. There was target 6 on the reduce the introduction and impact of invasive alien species. Target 7, reduce pollution to levels that are not harmful to biodiversity. 8, minimizing impacts of climate change on biodiversity and building resilience. 10, on enhancing biodiversity and sustainability in agriculture, aquaculture, fisheries, and forestry. 13, on the benefits from genetic resources, digital sequence information, and traditional knowledge. And 17, strengthening biosafety and distributing the benefits of biotechnology. So these were the particular targets that were mentioned in the decision, and the scientific study will look at synthetic biology applications in relation to those, as well as a few other targets. So the Secretariat released notification 2025-070, which was directed at researchers or teams of researchers from government agencies, research and academic institutions, non-governmental organizations, intergovernmental organizations, and it specified the terms of reference document, which has been made available on the requests for proposal website on this through the Secretariat main page, with a deadline for submissions by the 13th of June. And it specified that all expressions of interest, as well as any questions that anybody may have, can be emailed to the General Secretariat email. So I'm just now going to go through a little bit the terms of reference very briefly and just sort of describe a few of the key points. But again, just to emphasize that please refer to the terms of reference for the full detail. So in terms of the terms of reference, the scientific study will, of course, have to respond to paragraph 9b of Decision 1621 on synthetic biology. And the idea is that the work will be guided by scientifically sound information, so peer-reviewed journals, as well as other reports and publications. Regionally balanced information gathering exercises likely to respond to the needs and priorities and the public research elements. Some of the synthetic biology roadmaps that have been published by different organizations and governments, as well as the contributions to the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. And it's really key here to emphasize that the work will be conducted in an objective, neutral, and transparent manner. The scope of this work will be guided by the operational definition of synthetic biology from the 2015 ATAG, which was acknowledged by the Conference of the Parties. And the idea is that for some of the scientific information gathering, it'll be conducted using literature review methodologies. So in terms of the tentative timeline, so right now, from May to June 13th, we have our submissions for expression of interest, and we hope that we get several. And then from June to July, we'll do the contractual arrangements and agreements. So I'll talk about that next. And as part of this, there'll be a delivery of a work plan. So how the selected candidate or candidates will be, how they intend to carry out the study. And then the first draft of the Secretariat will be, or the first draft to the Secretariat will be submitted in October, and there'll be a review by the Secretariat and then a finalization before there's a peer review process, which we are tentatively scheduling in November. And then the finalization of the study at the end of the year and early next year, such that when the AdTake meets early in the first quarter of next year, they're able to have a finalized study. So this is just a tentative timeline, and we are, given the time pressures, we hope that it can be followed. But just to sort of mention about the contractual agreements that the Secretariat intends to use. So the Secretariat intends to use what's called a SSFA, or a small scale funding agreement. So generally this is signed between the Secretariat and an institution or agency, and it will be only signed by not-for-profit organizations. So these organizations can be private or public. However, the key thing here is that they're not-for-profit. And then based on the information submitted during the calls of expression of interest, we are asking for a fair bit of detail, but it's to help us sort of advance those contractual agreements so that we can finalize those as quickly as possible. So in terms of the actual agreement itself, these tend to specify the deliverables. So usually it's in line with the work plan, the dates in which those deliverables need to be submitted, the payment schedule, other details including intellectual property, the contacts for the different organizations, and any reporting templates for financial reporting, as well as the final reporting on the project. So it's mostly just to spell out in the legal agreement who's doing what, when it's going to be done, and sort of when each, at each step, which payment should be delivered. So this is a pretty standard practice that the Secretariat uses quite often. Yeah, so based on essentially the submissions from interested candidates, we'll use that in drafting the SSFA. And then what will happen is that for those, when the Secretariat does their selection, the selected candidates will then be contacted to then finalize this type of agreement. So the Secretariat is looking for experts with a combination of different qualifications and experience, particular in biological sciences or related disciplines, to synthetic biology. We are needing a deep knowledge and understanding of molecular biology, biotechnology, and the environment, a familiarity and understanding of the Convention on Biological Diversity and the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, as well as a knowledge of the process to develop advanced biotechnological applications and synthetic biology applications, and a knowledge of conducting scientific literature searches and analyses. So in terms of what needs to be submitted, so in the terms of reference, we're asking for the CVs of the candidates, including a description of expertise with issues relevant to their to the scientific study and the work to be done, and a brief overview of the researchers expertise and resources, a draft plan for the implementation of the study. So this is to, again, help with the contractual agreement to be followed. So a brief description of the methodology proposed to address the study and the requirements, a suggested budget, and an anticipated number of pages. So the deadline to submit a call for expression of interest is the 13th of June. And then based on what the Secretariat receives, we'll go through everything and evaluate the particular candidates using the CVs and the information submitted, so the proposed work plan, the availability of the candidates to complete the tasks within the specified timeline, and then the proposal, so in terms of the approach and the depth, and ensuring that it'll meet the requirements specified in Decision 1621. So again, the selected candidate or candidates will be contacted to start the process sort of mid to late June. So that's just sort of a very brief overview of the process. Again, please refer to the terms of reference that have been made available online, because that should guide you in terms of what the Secretariat is looking for and the further details related to the scientific study. So with that brief overview, I wanted to thank you, and I would like to turn the floor back to Watsi and see if there's any questions that anybody has. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Austin, for that detailed overview. I'm not seeing any questions yet.
There is one coming.
Yes. As Azam has been typing for a while, and I'm not sure if participants. Okay, thank you, Azam. Is there any individual researcher based on freelancing? Can he apply? Okay.
So perhaps Paolo can also assist me as well, but I understand that the agreement that the Secretariat intends to use will be signed with an affiliated institution. So, for example, if there is a researcher from a university, then we would sign with the university. It can be an individual, but it's just that the agreement would be done with the organization. Yeah.
Okay.
But we can also check on that just to confirm and then always respond to you after as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Austin. Thank you, Azam. I think he has a follow-up question. And then Jim would like to know what are the processes regarding managing conflict of interest?
Yeah, that's an important question. So in the decision, it wasn't specified that regarding some of those stipulations, but it's important from the Secretariat that the work is done free of conflict of interest. So as part of the study, we will be asking for a statement or a declaration regarding the conflict of interest, and we hope that the work can be done without any conflict of interest.
And I think this is also part of the reason why the modality we are using is specifically for nonprofit or agencies. It's linked to making sure that we manage conflict of interest as well. And then Joseph Mulema wants to know if intergovernmental organizations such as CAB International apply.
Yeah, for sure. Intergovernmental organizations are invited to apply. I know other colleagues in the Secretariat have, just as an example, done such agreements with like IUCN, the ICGB. So, of course, intergovernmental organizations can apply. The key is, as Watsi had just previously mentioned, for this type of contractual arrangement, is that it needs to be a not-for-profit.
Okay, and Linda would like to know if the study will focus on synthetic biology solutions developed within business, academia, or both.
Ideally, I would say both. The idea of the study is to inform on synthetic biology as a whole. So we would ideally like to have information from both. And I think that's what's sort of captured in terms of the actual decision itself, because the decision did specifically mention both public, had that public research element as well as sort of the other type, the private sector element as well.
Okay. Azam has a follow-up question, and it's regarding whether or not NGOs. Sorry, let me scroll back. Can anyone from any NGO apply? Is there any letter needed to apply from the organization?
I assume anybody from a not-for-profit can apply. It's that later, when if selected with the contractual arrangements, the Secretariat would then need a contact for the organization so that it's so that the agreement is signed with the organization. So I don't know if there's a particular letter that needs to go in the expression of interest when in submitting, but later on during the contractual arrangements that we would just need to have the contact and the signing authority for the organization.
Okay. And then Andre would like to know, well, he thanks you for the useful presentation, but he would like to know if there's an estimated budget or a reference framework available that can be used to guide the budget drafting.
So for this study, it's flexible, of course, in terms of what's being proposed and the size. So previous studies have cost between, I would say, 50 to 70,000 USD. But it is a bit flexible because there are certain elements that might require additional resources, or if there's a larger team of researchers and the study will be larger, then it would of course have a higher budget. So it is a bit flexible in that regard. The budget. The mention of the budget is mostly because it sort of helps jumpstart the contractual arrangements, because as part of the agreement that would be signed, there has to be sort of a budget put in. So it's to sort of start putting in the budget, and so that the contractual arrangements can proceed more quickly, and there's less back and forth, more or less.
Okay. And Jim has a follow-up question, or more of a comment, I think, Jim, but regarding the conflict of interest, should organizations and institutions declare if they are either constituted for promotion of biotechnology or have clients in the biotechnology, synthetic biology, commercial space?
And then there's also clients or funding relationships.
Yes. So, and I think it's a comment,
Okay.
and I probably more than anything, and I think then this will be addressed as part of the declarations that are there. I think the updates to the conflict of interest procedure also allow us to get more precise information, and this will be part of the declaration that would be put in place. Linda is back, and BIA. Linda, if you can tell us what BIA stands for. Have a lot of knowledge on SynBio in business in the UK, and she'd be happy to share resources or exchange if helpful. Thank you very much, Linda. Okay, UK Bioindustry Association. Thank you. That would be very useful, and please share that with us. And okay, thanks, Jim. Okay, and yeah, I think. Are there any more questions, comments? I hope we are encouraged to submit some expressions of interest and to share the information with appropriate organizations that you are aware of. Our reach is limited, so we appreciate all the assistance with reaching out to organizations that are out there that are doing this work. Joseph has a question about consortiums. Are consortiums allowed?
I believe so. The main element in terms of the contractual arrangements is the not-for-profit element. So consortia are allowed to apply. It's just that with the consortia, if it's sort of like an established group, then that would be the organization that would be signing and doing the contractual arrangements with the Secretariat, as long as it's not for profit. So as long as it's not for profit, it can be public, it can be private organizations, and it would be fine. Just perhaps as an example, I know that in the past, the Secretariat has done these types of arrangements with universities, with different public research institutions. This contractual arrangement is used by the BioBridge initiative under the Secretariat. So it allows some flexibility as long as it has that not-for-profit element.
Okay, and Felix has sent a question in the question and answer and not in the chat. And his question is around okay, let me read it out. According to the call, the study should be conducted using a systematic review methodology. However, we think that the proposed time frame is not sufficient to carry out such a study, preparation of a protocol and its external validation, etc. Does the call mean a scoping review or an evidence synthesis or something similar?
So the idea, and perhaps we used the wrong term, but the idea here is just to try to guide the information gathering on a structured approach and a scientific methodology. So really the key for the Secretariat is that it's done in a structured approach, and the information is gathered in a transparent and objective way. So if there's particular methodologies that perhaps a systematic like a really in-depth systematic review with multiple levels of review might not be feasible. We understand that the timelines are a bit tight, so the idea is really to use a scientific and verified methodology to try to get the best practices for searching for literature, and as long as it's done in a systematic and objective way. I hope that's helpful.
Okay, and a follow-up question from Andre, still on the question of the budget's drafting, and he would like to clarify whether all data collection and stakeholder engagement activities are expected to be conducted exclusively online or are in-person qualitative research methods, such as participatory workshops or meetings, also anticipated as part of the study. And this would clearly impact the budget drafting.
Well, we'll have to just follow up to confirm, but I understand from other colleagues that in terms of the total amount for the SSFA, the agreement to be signed, the travel cannot exceed 15% of that total budget. So in terms of workshops and anything that needs to be sort of procured in that sense, it couldn't be more than 15% of the total budget. So with that in mind, it's likely that sort of online and electronic methods would be used for collecting that information.
Okay. And again, I guess, Andre, it depends on the methodology that, so we're not prescribing a methodology. So your proposal could use any methodology as long as that parameter of the 15% would then be addressed. There's a further question from Emmanuel, and he would like to know more about the peer review process for the review of manuscripts. Who will be the persons or institutions in charge of reviewing? And again, in an attempt to address the conflict of interest.
Yes, for sure. So in terms of this scientific study, the idea is that there'll be a first draft submitted to the Secretariat for the Secretariat to advise and check over, and then there'll be sort of a second version that will be sort of finalized. This will go for peer review. So this type of peer review is similar to the other peer reviews that the Secretariat has done, similar in line with, for example, the literature review from the previous intersessional period on synthetic biology, or some of the DSI studies from 2019, where there'll be a notification, there'll be a draft made available, and all parties or organizations, IPLCs, non-parties, they can all comment on the study. So it's a peer review of the parties. And then those peer review comments will be collated, and then the study will then be further updated to address the peer review comments received, and then a final version will be made available to the ATAG. So another way to think about this is for technical series 100 on synthetic biology, we had about, I think it was a 6-week period where we received a bunch of different comments from different parties and non-parties and organizations, and then the text was updated accordingly. And then all the responses are made available after to see how each comment was addressed. So it'll be done under the supervision of the Secretariat, more or less.
Yes, and using the standard peer review methodology that the Secretariat uses in line with the modus operandi of the SUBSTA. Okay, any more comments or questions? Oh, thank you. How should we best contact you sharing information via the CBD Secretariat email or another email? The CBD Secretariat email will do for your initial contact, and we will take it up from there. But otherwise, I think, Austin, was your email. Maybe you can just put it in the chat. And then, so for direct questions, etc., you can refer them to Austin. But if you're asking questions regarding the overall process and around submitting your bids, etc., then please use the official Secretariat email so that the communication can be officially logged in the system. But if you're asking questions or sharing information, then you can send that directly to Austin. Great. I think everyone is relatively okay.
Looks like there are no more questions for now.
Yes. Okay. And yes, okay, great. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We really are, okay, Marcos is typing. But we really welcome all inputs, and we welcome any assistance with getting as many organizations out there, and everyone will be able to see the recording And if you have follow-up questions, and the general answers to all the general questions will be shared with everyone. Questions around the procurement, questions around the conflict of interest procedure, and again, the methodology. We want to use a scientifically robust methodology, and that is very important. And we will, of course, everything will be subject to the standard modus operandi of the substar. Austin, any closing remarks? Oh, perhaps I ask Paolo first, and then you can go last. Thank you, Paolo.
No, Watsi, thank you very much. I'll be, of course, ready for assisting in answering any questions that may come from the group, and we'll be happy to help.
Thank you, Paula. And I think one of the good things about the small-scale funding agreements that we are using for this work is that it's an agreement, and it's a negotiated agreement, and it's really about a partnership and developing an outcome. So whoever we end up working with, we will work very closely. And it's a modality that allows us to have a working relationship rather than a financial relationship. And that's what we hope to get out of this process. So thank you very much. And then Austin, you...
I just want to say thank you, everyone who joined us today and those watching the recording afterwards. We look forward to receiving the various, hopefully various, expressions of interest, and I look forward to working with whomever is eventually selected. So thank you so much.